Welcome to the Surstudio podcast. My name is Priscilla and I am your host. And I'm on a mission to help luxurious interior designers reclaim their precious time and elevate their services to turn their interior design business into a 7-figure company. How? Keep listening. Hello, welcome to another episode of the podcast. Today I'm here with Robyn. Hi.
Hi, thanks for having me.
How are you doing today?
I'm great. How are you?
I'm good. I'm very excited to have you here.
Yeah, I'm excited to be here.
So tell me a little bit about your business, about you, about everything, interior design. Your business is called Interiors by Robyn, correct?
Yes. Yeah. So my name's Robyn. I'm the owner and principal designer for an interior design firm here in Seattle, Washington. I actually only started pursuing interior design about 3 years ago when my husband and I began planning a major remodel of our own. So at the time I was working in the fashion industry, but I just felt like living in Seattle, there wasn't a lot more opportunity in that space. Like I probably would have had to move to LA or New York to really get to that level that I wanted. So I decided to pivot my career trajectory and go back to school for interior design. And that's exactly what I did. So shortly after, I got a job as an assistant designer for a local interior design firm. And I worked there for a while. And then once I felt like I was ready to start pursuing my own clients, I went out on my own and I've been doing that ever since.
That's awesome. I really like how you pivoted from one industry to another, but they are still kind of like similar in some aspects, I feel like, right?
Yeah, there actually are a lot more similarities between interior design and fashion design than I thought there would be. It's honestly like the same basic principles of having an eye for design and what looks good together and kind of color pairing and things like that. So there are a lot of similarities, which was nice. I didn't have to exactly start from square one when switching careers.
That's awesome. That must be like kind of challenging, but fun at the same time. I imagine when you chose like a career and then you decided to change paths, but sounds like you're really good at it and you enjoy it a lot. I follow you on Instagram a lot and I really like your work. So
thank you very much. Yeah, it has been a huge change, but it's been amazing. I love what I do and I'm so happy I made that career pivot.
Yeah. Well, today we're going to be talking about 10 tasks that interior designers should be delegating. So let's dive right into that and tell me, what do you think that it should be the first task that interior designers should be delegating now?
Yeah, well, I would say the first thing is something that you're extremely familiar with at Surstudio, and that's 3D renderings. And I'll be honest, this is something that's really hard for me to delegate because I want to design every little detail. I want to have my hand in everything and make sure it's exactly how I want it. But as you've said before, it's extremely time consuming. And so it really does make sense to outsource it if you can, or at least part of it. I've done it before so that I'll have somebody do the basic floor plan, do the walls and the windows for me and make it into 3D. And so it's sort of a blank canvas for me to go in and start adding the textures and the materiality to this space. I've also done it where I will create the 3D model and then I'll pass it off to someone to render it for me. So I think both are really good options if you still want to maintain that control of the design, but also have somebody help you because it is so time consuming.
Absolutely. And that's a really good point. Just creating the 3D model and then sending that file and whoever you are hiring can do the actual rendering. Because I do know how it feels wanting to control the whole model or rendering and wanting to like put all the details in there. I am pretty much like that too with some of my stuff. And when I started delegating, I was like, well, would it be as good as I want? Or like, would they be able to do it how I do it? Or the way I want it or whatever.
Yeah, exactly. Because we all have our own different styles of how, if you're in SketchUp, if you're doing it in Cahoom or whatever software you're using, there's just a lot of different styles to it. And so to make sure that you're getting what you want out of your design, it's important to be clear about your expectations, what styles you like, kind of your workflow that you prefer, and that can set you up for a lot of success with outsourcing your renderings.
Yeah, absolutely. And I always like to say that you should start small and then try to like exponentially delegate, because if you start by delegating something that is too big and then you don't like the way that you work with that person or the final product, it will be very disappointing and you will be wasting some time too. Whereas if you outsource a very small project, maybe like a powder room, let's say, that can be like a way to try and see how you work with that person. If you like, I don't know, the dynamic, the final product.
Exactly. Yeah, I agree. Start small.
Yes, definitely. Okay, so moving on, let's discuss about another task that is prime for delegation and why it's so essential.
Yeah, so I think social media is another great task to delegate. And again, I don't think it's something that, you should have nothing to do with your social media. It's completely outsourced. I still do think you should have control over it because I think it's important to have an authentic voice online and with what you're posting. But I also know that the social media experts out there can look at your analytics, tell you what's working well, what's not working well, and help you come up with a social media strategy. And that's something that's extremely valuable to me because I know nothing about that stuff. I'm more of a creator and a designer myself, but when it comes to looking at the data and the strategy, that's where I need help and that's where I like to delegate.
Yeah, I'm the same in that aspect. I do have someone that helps me with my social media and it feels so much easier that way and more natural too, because even though I still handle all my DMs and when I'm talking with people, it's me, it's not, no one else is doing it for me. But when it comes, as you said, to the strategy and the analytics and what should we be posting and like what my audience wants to see or what is the best that can work the best. It's just so good to have someone that can do that. I actually have my monthly call tomorrow and I'm very excited for it.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah. And another thing is engagement, just really driving how many people are interacting with your page, how many people are looking at your stories. Like, I just know there's so much behind the scenes and there's so much planning that goes into that delegation can really be an important tool when it comes to your social media.
For sure. That is completely true.
Yeah.
So anyone who is listening to this episode, if you were doubting about delegating your social media management, I will 100% recommend it.
Yes, me too.
Definitely. Okay, so let's highlight another task that you have found that can be effectively delegated and that can also at the same time streamline the design process.
Yeah. So another huge one for me is project management. And I know a lot of designers try to do this themselves. And it's honestly just so much easier if we focus on the design work and we outsource the project management side of things. So this can include scheduling subcontractors, scheduling install dates, calling in for inspections if there's a huge construction component to your project. So there's just so many things that are taken off your plate as designers if we outsource that project management.
Yes, absolutely. And that is actually one of the tasks that I started outsourcing first when I first started delegating. And it definitely feels so good to start delegating those tasks. You will start freeing up so much time. And also you kind of like avoid getting burnout in that sense. You can get burnout in like many other ways, but that is like such a easy way to get burnout when you're trying to handle the project management part at the same time that you're trying to do the design part, because I feel like it is two things that had to happen at the same time, kind of, and you are not two people and we all want to like split ourselves in two parts, but we can't. So definitely that is a great task to delegate.
Yeah, it's been really helpful for me in my business.
Yeah. And I imagine it also can make the workflow way more faster, right?
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. It just kind of, I feel like delegation is all about doing what you're good at, doing what your skill set involves, and just anything that isn't your strong point, delegate that to somebody who that is their strong point. So yeah, project management, definitely important and crucial for the project, but have someone who can really keep you on track and keep things organized and keep the project moving along so there's no delays in the schedule.
Yes. For sure. A second pair of eyes.
Definitely.
Yeah. Okay. So could you share a bit about a task that interior designers might not immediately consider delegating, but that it can have a significant impact?
Yeah. So another one that might not be as common to delegate is product sourcing. As a lot of designers know, we rely so heavily on our sales reps for product information and pricing. But one thing I really like to do when I start a new project that's pretty large is give some of my reps a call and just say, hey, I'm doing this new build. It's really modern. They're looking for furniture styles that have X, Y, and Z, have these dimensions. What do you have that you can show me? And that in itself can save you a lot of time from scrolling and searching for the perfect items for your client if you can just get some help in that area by going directly to your product, your sales reps.
Yeah. That is so true. And actually, we used to offer this at Source Studio, and then we slowly stopped offering that because not many designers delegate the product sourcing. But as you said, it can just save you so much time. And just as a fun fact, before we're creating Source Studio, I used to work for an interior designer, and one of my main tasks was product sourcing. And it was so good for her because maybe she was just like focusing on creating the design while at the same time I was sourcing materials and sending like selections of 5 to 10 stuff for each, I don't know, flooring, countertops, and paint and fabric, like, I don't know, whatever it was. And then she could select and right away put it to the design, and it just streamlines the whole process. Just like the other task that we were talking about, this, I don't know, it's a little task that not many people have in mind for delegating, but it can make a huge difference.
Yeah. And again, like the 3D designs, it's something that it's hard for me to delegate and have somebody help me with because I want to have a say in every little thing, every little detail. But if you can find somebody to kind of help you narrow down your selections, and then you can kind of be like, okay, I want to go with this one. This is the final pick. If you can just kind of have somebody help you get there and just kind of like look through all the products for you, and you are able to give them the criteria that you're looking for, it just saves so much time. And yeah, it's a great thing to outsource, I think.
Yeah, and it is also so important to find someone that matches your design style and your vibes, in a way to say it, that kind of like has your same values and way to work. Because, I mean, it can be hard to find the perfect person to outsource to. And when it comes to stuff like this, as you were saying, we want stuff to be the way we do it as designers. So taking the time to find the right person to outsource, it is very important. And it's not just about finding the most affordable person. It's one of the factors, but it's not the only one. And many times it can be something that when we are very busy, or I don't know, we are just on the roll, we just go for the easiest way, the most affordable one. And we don't really think about how that can also impact on the result. So yeah, I think my advice for interior designers trying to outsource right now is just take the time to find the right person and don't rush it, and have a very detailed list. Maybe if that is easier for anyone, to kind of like checklist. Like, I don't know, I want them to have this in their skill set or be very detail oriented. But when you say detail oriented, also get like into the specifics, because detail oriented can be many things. Like, I don't know, that pays attention to the color differences, because it's not the same, like a navy blue or like a, I don't know, light blue and like a blue in between. And like, there are so many shades. And even though this sounds so basic for everyone in the interior design world, it can not be that basic for someone that is taking care of that for you. So I don't know, that was just a very random example, but
no, it's so true. Yeah, it's so true.
So yeah, just taking the time to find the right person to outsource to. Okay, so let's move to another task that can potentially free up more time for designers. What do you think that is the next task that you would recommend?
Yeah, so the next task I would recommend to outsource is your admin work and your scheduling. Sending invoices can just take forever to do, and scheduling meetings is something that's so important, but it's also so tedious. And so that's just a really basic easy thing to get off your plate and just rely on somebody else to manage for you. There's so many different virtual design assistants out there if you prefer to do that instead of having an in-person assistant. So there's just a lot of different options you can explore for outsourcing your admin work and your scheduling.
Yeah, that is so true. The virtual assistant world is like growing so fast that it's not as hard to find someone that is good at it as it was before, probably.
Yeah, definitely. And I love it. I think it's such a useful service for designers that, yeah, I'm happy it's kind of becoming bigger in the design world to have virtual assistants. It's great.
Yes, absolutely. And again, same as what we were saying before, this is also something that is very important to find the right person for, because we are talking about numbers. And if someone is invoicing the wrong numbers, or if in the admin package you're including client communication or email management, you have to make sure that you are using someone that also matches the way that you communicate and that pays attention to, as I was saying, numbers for invoices.
Yeah, absolutely. And this person is representing your brand. They're the face of your brand. If you are having them send like new client welcome packets, things like that, it can be the very first impression that your client gets of your brand and your business and who you are. So yeah, it's very important to make sure you're finding, the right person to do that outsourcing work.
Yes, for sure. And I mean, delegating is all about optimizing efficiency. So we don't want someone that will be doing the contrary, but not because they do not know how to do the work, just because they don't match our ways sometimes.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, so let's discuss a task that can be delegated to create more space for designers to focus on their creative process.
Yeah, so this one is something that's a little bit new to me, but hiring companies to measure out floor plans for you, especially for entire home remodels where it would take you hours to just go through and measure every single wall, every window. I found that it's a huge time saver just to hire a company to do this for you so that you have complete, accurate measurements. And as soon as it hits your inbox, you just plug it into your design software and then you can just start on your design. It's as easy as that. So yeah, I really recommend looking into a company just to do all the measurements for you.
That is so true. And I think I didn't know about these companies until the beginning of this year. And I was like, that's such like a smart way to do it. Like survey companies that can just go do all the survey for you. And that normally takes like half of a day to do. Like you have to go to the site and even more than half of a day, because if you are not that close, you have to drive and like the whole process, it takes so much time. So I think it's such a smart thing to delegate.
Yeah, exactly. And especially like if it's just you, it's so hard to do all the measurements and get them completely accurate. So yeah, I think this is a great thing to outsource for sure.
Yeah. And also, I mean, I don't think anyone likes doing the surveys.
No.
I mean,
yeah.
It's like the boring part.
I'd rather be designing.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, so definitely a game changer. And it also, similar to what we were saying before, it optimizes productivity. As you said, you get it in your inbox, you plug it right to the design, and you can start doing that. And it's such a great task. I feel like I'm being a little bit repetitive right now, but okay. So what's the next task on your list of delegation priorities for interior designers?
Yeah. So another huge one is updating your website and doing SEO for your website. I know very little about website management, I'll just be honest. So that was one of the very first things that I outsourced. And I'm so glad that I did, because I feel like I started getting more traction to my website when I had someone do SEO for me. So that one was game changing and definitely worth the investment.
Yes. I actually need some of your tips on who to delegate for web SEO. I created my own website and it definitely doesn't have much traction. So I do need some tips about that.
Yeah, I'm happy to help. I'm trying to remember. I found my gal on Upwork.com. So that's a really good tip. There's a lot of really highly skilled SEO people on there. So Upwork is a really great website to look into.
Yeah, definitely will do. I do know someone else I was talking the other day, but I think she's a web designer. I'm not sure if she does the SEO too. But anyone who is listening to this and is interested, they can go and ask. Her name is Ashley. Her Instagram handle is Ashley Designs Websites. She's great. She also gave me a free audit of my website, and I think she's offering those for a limited period of time. So if you or anyone is interested in that, I fully recommend her. I know she is a web designer. I'm not sure if she does SEO. That's a great point. I wouldn't have think about web SEO as a delegation task for this podcast. That's such a good point.
Yeah, it really is. And I mean, it's a huge part of helping clients find you and find your business. So yeah, once you think about it like that, it kind of becomes more important to get on that.
Yeah, for sure. And also like when we are paying for the domain, we want our website to have traction because the first reason I feel like why we get the domain is to be professional and look professional. But besides that, we also want people getting into our website. It is a great place to get clients. And when you are using your domain, but you are not getting anything, it can be a little bit frustrating. And I say it from personal experience.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I mean, same. When I first started my business, I didn't really know how to manage a website or how to make sure I had proper SEO. So yeah, it's definitely a crucial aspect to your business and your website.
For sure. Okay, so what is another task that you think that has great potential for delegation?
So another thing that I just completely offboard or outsource is bookkeeping. This is just something that I will never be able to handle on my own. It's just easier to pass that off and have your bookkeeper manage your spending, your tax payments, everything to do with the IRS. That is just not my strong suit, but it's also one of the most important parts of owning your own business. So it's definitely important to make sure that your bookkeeper just properly manages everything. So yeah, it's definitely worth the investment.
For sure. And I feel you there. That's not my strongest area either. I'm not great with numbers.
Yeah.
That's why I'm more in the creative world. And definitely you want to be very careful when you are trying to do the right things for taxes and all your numbers. You don't want to be breaking any laws or anything. So such an important part. I mean, if anyone is great at numbers, they can go ahead and do it by themselves. But also personally, besides not being good with numbers, I hate numbers. I think they're so boring. I couldn't do that for a living at all. I admire the people who can.
Yeah, for sure. I think a lot of designers are in the same boat because, we're just very creative, right-brained thinkers. And I think bookkeeping and finances, that's a very left-brain task. So we'll just leave it to the people who are good at that to help us with it.
Yeah, definitely. Okay, so we are getting to the end of this. We have 2 points left. So for the 9th task, could you share a bit about another task that can be effectively handed over to a skill team member?
Yeah. So another one on my list is ordering samples and maintaining an up-to-date sample library. This one is always more time consuming than I think it will be because materials get discontinued all the time. And it can be tough if you start building a design based on one fabric and then you realize that that fabric was discontinued months ago. And then you have to start from square one, come up with a new design plan. So that's why just making sure that your sample library is up to date, you're refreshing it regularly, and just making sure that you're designing with readily available materials. I think that's a really good one to just delegate to a team member to just have that be solely their job to make sure that they're getting rid of discontinued fabrics and materials and just making sure it's up to date.
Yeah, that is actually so true. I didn't think about it that way, but you have a great point there. And that also makes me think that that can be tied with the material sourcing because you will be probably contacting the same people for material sourcing and samples, the same vendor list, and well, all the reps will be probably the same. So probably that's a way to cut costs if you want to see it that way, because probably the same person can do the material sourcing and the sample, how we want to call it, sample organization.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, those two can definitely go hand in hand. And yeah, to your point, it's the same people that you're talking to and the same vendors and everything. So they definitely go together.
Yeah. Well, that was a great point. And for our last point, what's the final task you would recommend interior designers to start delegating now?
So this is another new one to me, but outsourcing a company to get client reviews for you. So there are companies that will call your client after a project is complete. They'll do a short interview with them on their experience throughout the project, and then they'll write a review based on your client's feedback, and you can add this to your website. So this is really great because it also takes it off the client's plate to write a review if, maybe they're super busy or they just don't want to write a review. So it's a really great option to delegate, and it becomes a good marketing tool for you and a good testimony for your business to have a really well-written review by the company or the freelancer, whoever you hire to write the review for you. It's been really beneficial.
Yeah, actually, that's awesome. I didn't know that there were companies doing that. And I want to use that too.
Yeah, definitely. And then just to expand on that a little bit more. So obviously it's not the company that would review you on Google or house.com or whatever. They would just write the review. You can use it on your website, but then you can also send it to your client and say, hey, if you wouldn't mind putting this review on Google, so that it's still coming from the client, but it's maybe more eloquently written, but it's still in their own words.
And they only have to copy paste it because they already have it written for them. That is so genius.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. And even for me, my clients are interior designers. And sometimes when I ask for testimonials, I either sometimes don't get an answer. I get an answer weeks after. And I get it because you are busy and stuff get lost. Sometimes in your inbox, or you read it, but then you are okay, I will get back to this in a couple of hours, and then you forget. So I think this is such a great thing for that too.
Exactly. Yeah.
I love that. So we got to the end of the 10 points, 10 tasks that interior designers should be delegating now. So as we wrap up, could you summarize how these delegated tasks have transformed your own interior design journey?
Yeah, so delegating tasks really gives you your time back, and it clears your head to focus on what you're best at. So I think there's so many different aspects of running a business. The more that you can clear off your plate to allow you the time for deep focus work, the more successful you're going to be and the better your projects are going to turn out. Everything that we've talked about, these are just things that I've outsourced, but maybe for you and your business, it looks different. And that's great. Do whatever works best for you and whatever brings your business the most success.
Yeah. Absolutely. So right with that same thought, what are your final words of encouragement for interior designers who are considering delegating tasks or are trying to maybe bring their business to the next level and they think that this is the way?
Yeah, well, I would just say to start slow with your delegation and explore a lot of different avenues. There's a lot of different companies. There's a lot of freelancers out there, and just do your homework to find the right company or the right person for you and your business, and make sure that your expectations are clear for what you need, and then just enjoy on focusing doing what you're good at and what you love to do. I had a mentor of mine tell me a rule of thumb for delegating, and it was that for any task, you have to love to do it, you have to be good at it, and you have to have the time to do it. And if not, you should delegate it. And so I've just always remembered that, and I've kind of tried to stick to that rule of thumb, and it's worked really well for me so far.
That is a great rule, actually. I didn't know about that, and I agree 100%. I do feel that sometimes interior designers have kind of the economical, financial obstacle, thinking that outsourcing is gonna make them lose money instead of making money. And something that I like to say is that every person that you delegate to should be bringing you money, not making you lose money, if that makes sense. Even though you're investing in them, they should be helping you elevate your business and maybe double up your revenue. Who knows?
Yeah, absolutely. And to your point, outsourcing can be an investment, but it's a great investment for your business. And that's why I say just start slow. Start with maybe one thing that you can delegate today until you can get to this point where you're delegating so many different things. Just don't get overwhelmed with it. Be smart about it and enjoy it.
Yeah. And as we said before, take the time to find the right person or maybe group of persons that will be taking care of your task and they match your values, your ethics, your mission, vision, and everything that makes your brand and yourself too.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, is there anything else you would like to say to everyone listening to us?
I don't think so. I think that is all the words of wisdom that I kind of came up with for this podcast. But it was so great to be on here with you. I love talking about this stuff. So this has been super fun for me.
Well, thank you so much for being in this episode and for taking the time to meet with me and chat about this for a little. And I don't know, just try to help your fellow interior designers.
Yeah, well, thank you so much for having me.
Of course. And for everyone listening, I hope I have you with me next week too. And we'll see you then. Thank you for listening to the Surstudio podcast. We love to have in our community. Let's be friends on social media. You can find us on Instagram at surstudio.id or check out our website at surstudiointeriordesign.com. This was Priscilla from Surstudio, and I look forward to have you on our next episode.